I don't know how well this is going to go. But maybe I'll get better at this as I do more comics? I really don't know. I don't know. I'm not too sure.
Welcome to the SLUSH podcast, the only place on the internet where we cover toddler toys to movie reviews and all of the spoilers in between.
I remember my parents would rent movies all the time from a video store down the street or Blockbuster. I even remember renting a VCR, which is pretty crazy. It would come in like this, almost like a Pelican kind of briefcase thing and foam inserts all cut out with a VCR in it. It was crazy. And that's how you rented a Nintendo as well back then. I think my older sister, rented Alien 3. It had just come out. It was brand new. Popped in Alien 3. That movie definitely scared the living shit out of me. Big time. I had seen some horror movies like The Gate, Canadian horror classic from the 80s, Stephen Dorff. Nothing really absolutely horrified me like Alien 3 did. It was the scariest movie I think I had ever seen. I think I was only like 7, maybe, or 8 when I saw it. My mother had to sleep with me for God knows how long. I can't even remember. It was a long time. Because the cryotubes, I was absolutely horrified beyond belief about cryotubes and being asleep in a cryotube. And that's one of the reasons I had so many issues trying to fall asleep at night, is because it was just reminded me of Alien 3, because it starts off with them in the cryotubes and then the facehuggers outside of it, and then Newt drowns in it and they give her the autopsy. Oh my gosh, yeah. I was like not ready to see that movie probably. It was just I thought maybe it was because I was a kid, but even over the years as I've seen it, it's still terrifying to me. I don't know what it is, but there's something about Alien 3. I think it's the first and one of the most grim films I've ever seen in my life. I'm sure there's lots of like people who actually know what they're talking about with movies who would be like rolling their eyes at me right now. But for me personally, and since it's our podcast, yeah, that's what I would call my first experience of like a stark, horrifying movie. Even now as an adult, like I think that it's so good. I know it's not the best Alien movie by far, but David Fincher, his first movie, he doesn't even talk about it. He's so removed from the whole experience because it was so horrible for him. Anyways, I'm not here to talk about Alien 3. So Dark Horse Comics, they got the license, I guess, right after Aliens to do the comic book series, and they did with Predator as well. They're both Fox properties back then. Alien 3 scared the shit out of me so much, and it's such a funny coincidence that the very first comic book I can remember getting and being really, really stoked about was Aliens Colonial Marines, issue 6 of 12, which is like right in the middle. So I had no idea. I didn't know much about comics. I mean, I did. Like, kids know about Spider-Man and Superman and Batman and all that. But yeah, I didn't even know they made comic books about aliens. I thought that was really cool. And I think somebody, like one of my classmates, Nick Fitzgerald, remember grade 4. Grade 4? I think it was grade 4. Yeah, 1994. That kind of makes sense with the timing of Alien 3. Anyways, the point is, he got me this for Christmas. Yeah, this is my first Aliens comic book. Thanks, Nick. Who would have guessed? This awesome lady, this older lady, would always let me rent horror movies and R-rated movies. It was, honestly, she has no idea the impact that she had on like my who I would become, I guess, later. So thank you, wherever you are. She let us rent Aliens, my friend Matthew Pike and I. I remember we watched it. Got in trouble afterwards. But, I mean, it's Aliens. What do you even say that hasn't already been said a million times before? I mean, honestly, not only is it one of the best movies ever made, it's one of the best sequels ever made. It could be the best sequel. And then there's Terminator 2, but they're by the same person, which is crazy, so I don't know. It wasn't until I was in junior high, I think grade 9, 1999, I saw Alien for the first time on the Space Network, which was an amazing channel back in the day. I saw Alien for the first time, and I didn't realize that was before Aliens. I mean, it makes sense. Aliens, but again, I'm a burnt kid, so, and we couldn't just IMDb it and find the movie connections or whatever. That was kind of the first time I'd experience a movie, a horror sci-fi movie. It was like the real deal, looked like a real spaceship that these really good actors or characters are in, and it was an amazing movie. And still to this day, I'd say it's definitely in the top 5 if it's not number 1. Sigourney Weaver's amazing. I mean, all the actors are amazing. The xenomorph looks absolutely terrifying, and they show just enough, to like really get the mind going and fill in the gaps. I don't know. It's an amazing movie. The music is awesome. The sound is awesome. I think they call it cassette futurism technology. So at that point, there's only 3 Alien movies ever made. So I started with 3 when it was brand new, then found out about Aliens through the comic books. Got obsessed. I loved it so much when I was a kid. I have drawings still that I did in elementary school of just tons of xenomorphs all over my schoolwork and in elementary school. I found out about Predator because of the comic books as well, the Dark Horse comics. So when I went to the store to look for more of these Colonial Marines issues, because there's so many, I didn't know, how many comics came in a series. I didn't really ever think about it, so I didn't know there was just like 4 of 4 or 2 of 2 or 10 of 10. So anyways, there was 12 issues in this Colonial Marines Dark Horse Alien series. When I went to the store to find more, they had Predator comics there too. And I was like, what? Predator? Like I didn't know. Like I'd seen Predator when I was in elementary school in like grade 4, I think. But like I didn't know that he would ever fight the alien. I'd never seen Predator 2. I'd only seen Predator 1. I obviously loved it. Like everybody loves Predator. Again, what can you say about Predator that already hasn't been said a million times, So anyways, I found the Alien versus Predator comics, and I thought, wow, the Predator hunts the aliens, like for sport, and he does it all the time, apparently. So the Predator just became like my number 1 hero after that, which sounds bizarre. It was so cool because I was so scared of Alien 3, so the fact that the Predator could go up against the alien and just does it all the time, I fell in love with the whole thing. And started buying as many Aliens and Predator and Alien versus Predator, and Alien would show up in the Superman comics and fight him, and like Predator would fight like Motorhead or X or Ghost. I don't know, it was crazy. I mean, he eventually fought Archie down the road, and Batman, and the Batman, honestly, like those are wicked comics. Predator 2, I saw that, and they had the xenomorph skull, everybody knows that story, and the spaceship at the end. So even they were like alluding to eventually there would be a movie, a crossover, but that was like 10 more years. Everyone had to wait till we get AVP. It's cool that they made AVP. I'm absolutely not a fan of it. Like I did see it a bunch of times. I worked at the movie theater when it came out. I had, a giant cardboard cutout of the xenomorph from AVP from the movie theater. I took it home. But I don't know. Like compared to some of the stuff that has come out since AVP is good compared to those. And even Alien Romulus, I enjoy it. It's cool. Like I saw it twice in the theater. But I look at what they're doing with the Predator franchise right now, and I feel like it's in such better hands than Alien. That I think his name's Danny Trachtenberg. I don't know. He directed Prey, which shot in Calgary. Predator Badlands, I thought, was just a live-action Dark Horse comic book, but they did it right. I saw Killer of Killers, the Predator animated movie, and it was cool. I think if Prey and Badlands hadn't come out, that probably would be like top Predator stuff. I mean, it is, but like I think Prey and Badlands are just so well done. It's almost like they finally have someone who understands the source material. And to me, the source material is just the first 2 movies in the comic books, and that's it. Like, to be honest with you, eventually we'll watch all of them and do reviews with everybody else, or just 2 of us or 3 of us. I don't know. I love Predator. Love Predator 2. The Predator sucks, but it's cool. Like, there's cool parts. Like, I think that some of the things they were doing were good. Like, it looks great. Like, it's a great looking movie. I actually love the way the fugitive Predator looks at the beginning. That is one of my favorite Predator designs I've seen in any of the movies. I don't know why. I think it's just really slick. It looks like the most sci-fi Predator I think that they've ever done. Thought their armor and their mask was really cool. I was so bummed out when, spoilers, that fugitive predator gets killed by the big predator, which was stupid, and that's why I don't like the movie. Not the only reason, there's a lot of reasons, but like, I'm sure we'll get into that way down the road when we talk about it. Just AVPR, I've never seen. I just, I didn't even like AVP that much. So AVPR just, I feel like both franchises have reached such crazy highs. Like Alien with Alien and Aliens. Like those are two of like fuck, those movies are amazing. And then with Predator, you've the first Predator, I mean like it's a classic. But Prey I thought was it's almost like even if you took the Predator out of the movie, it's still a good movie. Like even if it was just and that's what I think is great. It's the same as Ghostbusters Afterlife. You could pull the Ghostbusters stuff out of it and you'd still have a good movie. I mean, it wouldn't be Ghostbusters or Predator if you took them out, obviously. I understand that. But I'm just saying that if the movie already can pretty much stand on its own without that element, then I think that if you know what you're doing, like that director, I was saying, like he just, Prey and Badlands, guy just knows the material. And I'm sure there's tons of people out there who don't like them, like Prey or Badlands. Like, I don't know if I should be calling them the Yautja. Maybe I should be. I guess I will after this. I don't know, and it's so good. The girl is so good in Prey, and she has her dog, and she has the fucking axe, and she can pull it back with the rope. I mean, it's... I don't know, it's fucking cool. Like, I thought Prey, in my opinion, is the best Predator movie. I don't know. Like, at this moment in time, I think Prey is the best one. But I think that Badlands is a pretty good entry for anyone into the Predator franchise because it's like a Disney Predator movie, but it's good. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know how the hell they did it. So that leads me to what I'm doing. I want to not review. I want to talk about. I guess that is a review though, right? I just want to chat and record my thoughts on every single issue of every single Dark Horse Alien comic book ever release, and we're gonna do it in chronological order, like of release. Yeah, I'll just do it month by month, and if there's two that came out that month, then I'll just do the one that came out earlier that month. Every single comic book that we'll cover, I just want to get my thoughts out there. I don't know why. I've just loved the Dark Horse Aliens and Predator comics my whole life since I was a kid. They're my favorite comics. I have more than any other comic book. And I'm trying to actually complete, like, own every single back issue, like every single individual issue of every single Aliens and Predator, Alien versus Predator, Alien fighting whoever, Predator fighting whoever issue, every Dark Horse Presents that they're in, everything. I'm trying to get everything. Somebody asked me if I'm going to be doing the Marvel ones. I'm sure I will be buying them down the road. But for me, fulfilling like a childhood dream of owning all the Aliens and Predator Dark Horse only comics. And then I'll just be giving them to Bennett anyways. So he could sell it for more money when I'm dead someday. And he's old. Or he can give it to his grandkids. Somebody who has some really cool fucking comics though. You could go on Wikipedia or like the fandom stuff online for all these comics and find out all the whatever technical info. I'm sure I'll be getting into that a little bit just because why not? Yeah, I'm not going to give you like a Wikipedia breakdown and just read shit off Wikipedia because I feel like, I don't know, where's the fun in that? It would not be fun for me. I'd just be reading Wikipedia. So the very first Dark Horse Aliens thing, issue 1 of 6, so the first issue. But I guess later it became known as Aliens Outbreak. But yeah, it's just called Aliens when it came out. So the artwork is awesome. I'll show you. The main artist in these, Mark A. Nelson, and another color artist who helped. It's another guy named Randy Stradley, I think his name. But Nelson does all the main art in the book, though. It's in black and white, which is wicked. I say wicked just because I think that it's like kind of like reading the old Ninja Turtles comics. like the first release, they're in black and white. It's just kind of grittier. I don't know. It probably sounds super pretentious, but you can feel that someone drew this, and it's not like touched up with computers, and I don't know. Not that there's anything wrong with doing that, like the computer stuff and having a ton of people work on it, but it's just kind of cool because I don't know. And it's more hardcore, isn't it? That's fucking awesome that somebody did that in the 80s. I don't know. It seems a lot harder. Sue me. And you know what? It's kind of funny because the Dark Horse logo alone is insanely cool. Every time I saw that logo on a comic book when I was a kid, I always got excited because Dark Horse comics just seemed to be the best comics. Like, I loved them. And then later they did Star Wars, they did Hellboy. Fuck, I mean, they did so many cool things. On the cover, we basically got a xenomorph who's coming down from a ceiling, about to attack the 2 astronauts or space marines? Don't know yet. Looks like your classic Nostromo vibes on the walls behind them. Weyland-Yutani looking tech. Cool lighting. It's lit with the spacesuit lights. It's all the things that you would want to have on the cover of the first issue of the first Aliens comic ever. They even have like a copyright on the bottom. It's like 20th Century Fox. Fucking love it. It's weird knowing that these comics would peak about 5 years later, as far as the volume being released goes, when like Aliens versus Predator and the other series were all out at the same time. Like they had multiple series at one point going with Aliens, Predator, Alien versus Predator, and just the Alien and Predator fighting other comic book superheroes or crossing over. It's just very cool. Also, this Godzilla ad on the back of the comic is amazing. Alien 3 had not been made yet. This is the 80s. Nobody even knows about Alien 3. It's like a rumor at this point if it's even happening. So they're basically just continuing right after the events of Aliens. So we open on a woman in a hospital bed, and there's like a male doctor asking her if he wants to talk about last night. Seems like there must have been an episode with her? ? Don't know. We'll find out. The woman talks about a dream that she had from when she was younger, way younger, and her friends stumble across old recordings of campfires and camping literature on a disc from a long time ago. They sneak out of their terraforming base in like this vehicle and travel to an outpost, and it's here that they turn on what looks like a space heater kind of thing, and they huddle around it like trying to do what humans used to do back in the day around campfires. And then they start to tell like scary stories like you would back in the day around campfires. The artwork is fucking awesome. It reminds me of the movie The Lighthouse, A24 movie. It was shot in Nova Scotia. High contrast, spooky. One of these girls is already recognizable as Newt from Aliens because it's just the way they draw her. You can kind of tell. And they say her name, Newt. Then we realize after pressure from her friends to tell a scary story that she starts to describe the xenomorph. So this scenario that's unfolding never truly happened and is literally a nightmare of what Newt is having. So she's telling this to the doctor, and clearly she has like major PTSD from the events of Aliens. And what's interesting is that some of the wording from Newt in here really does sound like something she would say. So it's kind of cool. The writer Verheiden, I think that's how you say his name, Mark Verheiden. Probably should have said that at the beginning. He wrote the comic. Maybe open with that next time. Then from there, we cut to Hicks, and he's having a nightmare about the xenomorphs as well. But in like his dreams, all the Marines are dying, and they have chest bursters coming out of them, like Vasquez and Drake, which did not happen in the movie, obviously, but it gives us a bit more of like a nightmarish quality like Newt's nightmare, where it's kind of over the top. I mean, as over top as you can be considering how fucking crazy it was in Aliens, but you just see differences. Obviously, we know Newt didn't go to a campfire with her friends and an alien burst out of their chest, so we know that this is all in their heads and their nightmares. Anywho, so basically Hicks wakes up from this nightmare also about xenomorphs, and a droid with a computer comes in, and there's like an officer on the screen on the droid, and he's telling Hicks to wake up and report to duty right away. And Hicks says that he's never asked to do anything for the Marines anymore, so it must be a big deal. He's in what looks like a military brig for like bad behavior. His cellmate says that Hicks is dangerous. He doesn't want to be in there with him, which is interesting considering he took on the role of like a protective father figure in the movie. So now it seems like he's gone down a darker kind of path due to the same like major PTSD that Newt also has gone through. Suddenly, we're given a lesson on what the Coast Guard looks like in the future. They're now the Coast Guards of like orbit, like low Earth orbit. So they're in Leo and they're protecting Earth from any old ships or space tech that's been left in orbit, like a decaying orbit. And they use like these remote probes to go into each piece or like vessels that could drift into orbit and like, you know, crash into a city or something or whatever. Anywho, they blow them up. So that's what the Coast Guard are up to in the alien universe in the future, which is kind of cool. Then we get a point of view of the Coast Guard's remote probe going inside of one of these old ships. It's called like the junket. So they go into this ship. They work by controlling the probe, and they note that the door on the ship is bulged outwards. But once they get inside, they find dead bodies. It's your classic xenomorph, acid, blood holes burn into everything. I think we obviously know what happened on this ship, but they don't. Anywho, they plant some nukes, and they kind of note that the probe is suddenly performing strange. And then, anyways, they detonate the ship, blows up. Side note, one of the texts says Hasta la Vista, which is ironic, just because Aliens is done by James Cameron, and Terminator 2 hadn't even been made yet at this point when this comic came out, so it's kind of funny. And then they suddenly realize that there's a xenomorph on the probe as it's coming back to the ship. This is the probe that planted the nukes, obviously. The ship explodes. Coast Guard crew were all dead. So it's not like an alien Earth situation where they accidentally bring a xenomorph back to the planet. They die in orbit. So the xenomorphs did not make their way to Earth. And then we kind of pull out and see that it's Hicks watching footage of what has happened. And that's why he's been taken out of his like brig by the military, because they know that he has seen the xenomorphs on LV-426 from Aliens, and they're like, you know, I mean, then he kind of puts two and two together. It's like, obviously this is why they brought him in, because there's a xenomorph, and they're like, we have, you know, video evidence of a xenomorph existing now, so it kind of changes things. And that's kind of what they say to him. They were waiting for the opportunity. If it should arise, they would just keep Hicks around, and he could just come and deal with them again. So after that, things get interesting. There's notes that pop up above the comic panels giving you sort of like history lessons. There's one history lesson on television broadcasting in 2057 basically saying that there were so many channels coming out that TV commercials disappeared over time, and then tens and thousands of channels just start pouring out a ton of content. Literally everything you can imagine, including like a rise of religious content, that outnumbered, you know, docs, like non-doctrinal content, 100-1, they say. So it almost kind of seems like they predicted YouTube in a way in this comic series, which is kind of, I don't know, it's funny. So now we have two new characters we're introduced to. Dr. Salvage, I think it's how you say his name. It's spelled very strange. And this other scientist, or like a grunt worker, who's just hooking up what he calls an old school camera to record a broadcast of this doctor. So it seems that Dr. Salvage believes that the xenomorphs are the true Messiah, and he also believes that others are also sharing the same vision that he's having about the xenomorphs. So he wants to like get a broadcast out there, you know, so everybody can connect, because they didn't have LinkedIn during this. Another series of like history pop-ups are in the comic panels, and we're basically taught that in the future there's what's called an iBox, and it allows folks to change channels that they're watching by detecting minute changes in the capillaries of your retina. I mean, I'm sure we'll get there. They have a hologram of a xenomorph pop up for the presentation they're about to broadcast. It's weird because for me, I'm like, okay, well, how do they know about the xenomorph? Because even though this guy says they're going to be the new messiahs, the xenomorph, and he thinks other people have seen them so far, how has this guy gotten this video proof of a xenomorph? Because as far as we know at this point, only Hicks and the military have seen those, you know, recovered black box disc things from this ship that exploded from the Coast Guard in Earth orbit. So we don't know yet how this crazy ass Dr. Savage has this footage of the xenomorph. Side note, LV-426 is actually called Acheron, Ashron? Ashron. I think it's Ashron. Yeah. Achron. So that's the name of LV-426 in these comic books. So we see that Newt's in like kind of a Sarah Connor situation, like in T2. She's just constantly being fed drugs in this institute, and she's being kept against her will. And, you know, she makes a comment to another patient that she feels like she's losing her memory and her hold on reality. She also seems to be having an outburst similar to Sarah Connor as well, where she describes her mother being torn apart like a doll in front of her by xenomorphs, and she's restrained by the guards. There's another patient in the background using the eye box to flip through channels, and it looks like she's just come across that Dr. Salvage broadcast, doing his crazy like religious lecture on how the xenomorphs are going to be the new messiahs. So we see that like his broadcast did make it out. It's very brief at the end of this scene in the comic book, so we know he's got his message out there that he wanted to get out there about the xenomorphs being the messiahs. And then we cut straight to Hicks walking through folks to get to a meeting with an officer. We see people's reactions, how he looks, like his facial scars. We know as the reader what happened to his face from the alien's blood, but has yet to be fully shown in the comics so far. And then Hicks meets Colonel Stevens and a doctor. And they discuss the xenomorph footage that Hicks saw, and the doc says, I understand you had an experience with them before. And then Hicks's full face is finally revealed in this panel. You see all like the gruesome like acid scarring, and he says, you could say that, which is pretty awesome because that does sound like something Hicks would say. So that's the thing, like they do sound like I can hear their characters' voices. So it's not like that far removed, this comic book, as a sequel to Aliens, which is awesome. So I imagine in the 80s they were like really loving this because this was the sequel to Aliens. So, and they kind of like touch on how Hicks's mental health has gone downhill like so much since the events of Aliens, obviously. How everyone didn't want to have any contact with him since they know the alien blood burned his face, so they think he's got some kind of like a lifelong contamination that's undetectable with the xenomorph. So you find out kind of like that's why the other folks are avoiding him, because they know that he has scars from an alien encounter. I don't know, it's weird. I don't know if that's going anywhere or not. So he's basically an outcast. Hicks is an outcast. Then we go right back to Newt, and she's in the middle of bad dreams again, but there's a voiceover of doctors discussing giving her more drugs to stop the dreams. But it could result in permanent brain damage, dun dun dun, which they don't seem too concerned about. She's woken up from the dream by a nurse. She says, you've got a visitor, and it's Hicks. So he says that this colonel and the other folks have located the xenomorph's home planet. And Newt starts to tell Hicks that they're drugging her every day, and the doctors just start to take her away because she starts saying too much about the treatment that they're giving her. And then she's like, save me like you did before, and then bam, she's gone. Bam, the end of issue 1. So it's kind of cool just because it's like a cliffhanger ending, and you're like, oh man, I wonder if Hicks is going to bust her out of here or not, you know? But you really don't know what's going to happen yet. It's also just awesome seeing all the old ads, like for all the other comic books in here that were coming out at the same time in 1988. Like, they've got Concrete in here, Trekker, Flaming Carrot, The Mask, which is just called Mask, Masque. I'm guessing that is a Jim Carrey one later. It's just so cool. Like, so many of the ads are fucking awesome. Like, I just want to buy every single comic book that they have an ad for in here. It's insane. Like, everything looks wicked. So many cool comics. Trekker, I just started collecting that the other day. Heavy Metal folks did the first actual Alien comic book adaptation ever. As far as I know, this is the first one. So, yeah. Alien. It's amazing. The artwork is incredible. Fuck. It's so good. Like, if you haven't read it, highly recommend it. Look at that. Come on. That's amazing. Artwork is so good. It's all color too. Like, oh man. Look at that. I remember when I first was like, okay, I'm going to get all of the Alien comic books that Dark Horse ever made. As soon as I backtracked far enough and I found out that Heavy Metal did this, man, I had no idea that it would be this good. Like, this is fucking awesome. It says copyright 1979. So there wasn't technically another Alien comic until after Aliens. So it'd be 1988, yeah. So it was like almost, I guess, 9 years until there was another Alien comic, which is wild. So, yeah. Next episode, I'll cover Dark Horse Presents number 24. That's it, I guess.